Welcome back. If you're just joining us, you're watching the news at 10, live on Channels Television. A reminder of our major stories. Former head of state decries killings in Benue State and other parts of the country, calls for interveners in the nation to end the violence. Process to recall lawmaker representing Kogi West in the Senate, Dimo Milaye, enters a new phase as petitioners turn out to verify their names and signatures on the list submitted to INEC. As workers get set for the 2018 May Day celebrations, agitations for better minimum wage persist. Some states demand increase in federal allocations to them. And United Nations raises alarm as thousands flee fighting between government forces and rebels in Myanmar's Kachin state. ChannelsTV.com has more information for you, and on youtube.com/channelsweb you can see our videos. You can also watch us on your mobile device via your browser or download the Channels TV app for Android, iOS and Windows devices from their respective stores. And besides giving you access to updates on the go, the Channels TV and Channels 24 app has an eyewitness feature. You can use it to share those pictures, videos, or news of happenings around you. Just install the app, then tap and swipe to reveal the menu and follow the instructions. And here are some of the pictures you sent into our eyewitness portal today. The first one is a video coming from Denro Road in Ishashi around Akute area of Ogun State, showing a canal turned into a dump site. Our eyewitness reporter says some people have built thatch houses on the dirt and now reside there. She's calling on the government to intervene because this is really very dirty for the residents, especially when it begins to rain. It may become even worse. And still in Ogun State is this picture from Tinubu Estate in Isheri area showing electric cables and changeover switches. Our eyewitness reporter says the residents are being exploited by the electricity distribution company and is pleading for prepaid meters to be installed. Our final image shows a protest by the Federation of Informal Workers of Nigeria over an alleged eviction from the mechanic village in Babs Animashaun in Surulere area of Lagos State. Our eyewitness reporter says they were evicted under the pretext that they were operating under high-tension cables, but now they see that it's a plot to develop a housing scheme in the area. Thank you so much for sending in those pictures, and we do encourage you to keep them coming. Now, we're still staying with the issues of the Nigeria Labour Congress, talking about the new minimum wage. The Congress is sticking to their guns, asking the federal government to fix a new minimum wage of 66,500 naira for the workers. Although the union made a demand about a year ago, their request is still being considered by the committee set up by the federal government to review that demand. Now, it appears that the union may be insisting that government effects the change sooner than expected.
Our proposal of 56,000 is just 4,000 more than the figure we put for negotiation in December 2008.
It's more than a year now since the Nigerian Labour Congress (NLC) made a formal request for an increase in the minimum wage to the federal government. The request for an upward push from 18,000 to 66,500 naira was presented in line with international labor laws at the expiration of the mandatory 5-year term for the review of the minimum wage. A committee was set up by the president to review the request of the workers.
We have already started sitting, and we believe that within the next 2 to 3 quarters, we should be able to conclude and make our recommendations known to Mr. President. And definitely, whatever is the decision taken and approved by the federal government, it would also favor the civil servants.
That decision is what the average civil servant is waiting for, as they are anxious to know if the outcome of the review will favour them or not, especially now that it is becoming very clear that Labour will repeat their demand on May the 1st.
Increment of salary is the primary responsibility that government need to do now, because the workers are suffering. The salary we have been receiving remains the salary we are receiving. Everything in the market has risen to the highest.
They are just taking us for a ride. The president is not here. The vice president is not here. They are just sending a representative. We are hungry.
The Labour leaders seem optimistic that the request will be granted, but wants the committee to speed up the process, which seems to be taking a longer time.
I think it's a clear message, and I think it has been well communicated. And more importantly, also workers are expectant that this issue of minimum wage must receive attention promptly. We have also demanded for a timeline. It can be an ending process. We urge government to have timeline to bring all the social partners to the table so that this very important issue is actually addressed.
Yet there are more issues to contend with. The newly proposed 66,500 naira minimum wage may not necessarily meet the immediate needs of an average Nigerian who is already at the crossroads to make ends meet in the wake of rising inflation. Will Labour again make a push for a bigger bargain come May the 1st, or insist that the government immediately grant their request as soon as possible? The answer to the questions are best sourced from the leaders themselves.
Now let's take a further look at the demand for a better minimum wage for Nigerian workers. And I'm now being joined live from our Abuja studios by the head of Legislative Liaison in the Nigeria Labour Congress. He's Mr. Uche Ekwe. You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Now, on May the 1st, precisely Tuesday next week, Nigerian workers will troop out to mark another Workers' Day. What are your expectations as this year's event draws closer?
Yeah, of course, you know that every worker, basically now, the major interest is on the minimum wage. What happens with the minimum wage? Of course, as you are aware, the process is on. In the past 2 days, precisely on the 26th and 27th, there have been public hearings in the 6 geopolitical zones, including Abuja and Lagos, where representations from the state government contingent in all these geopolitical zones met with the workers from those geopolitical zones to make their presentations. And for us in the labor movement, of course, we presented our demand, which, as you have mentioned earlier, is 66,500. Of course, the workers in all these areas have followed those public hearings and the submission by the states. A good number of the states did not make categorical statements on what they think they will pay. The only state that have been very categorical in saying what they will, in making an offer, what they think the minimum wage should be, is Jigawa State, which made an offer of 43,000. And of course, we now expect that the Central Committee will be meeting anytime from now to now collect the submissions from these centers.
Well, Mr. Ekwe, how have the talks been so far? If I may come in here, have the talks been favorable?
Well, you can't say whether the talk is favorable now until there is collation.
Okay.
From the federal part, they've not made any submission. Favorable, you can say, from the point that you hear a number of the states saying, okay, whatever is agreed finally by these tripartite committee, which includes, of course, the representative of federal government, the representative of the state government, and the private employers represented by NECA, and of course the labor movement. A good number of the states have said that whatever is agreed at that tripartite body, they will implement. The only seeming dissenting voice so far could be that of Rivers State Governor, who is advocating that the states should be allowed to fix their wages. For us, we feel that it's retrogressive. What we are calling for is a national benchmark, like as is obtained all elsewhere in the world. The United States, for example, have a national benchmark. And of course, states can improve on the national benchmark. The minimum wage is the minimum shop floor, which no employer should go below. The state can choose to go higher or maintain the benchmark.
But Mr. Ikwe, you know a lot of states found it even difficult to pay the current minimum wage, which is 18,000 naira. So how do you expect them to pay 66,500 naira?
Yeah, talking about difficulty in paying is a matter of choice. In primary economics, the first things you learn is about what you call opportunity cost, scale of preference, and choice. It depends on what the state governors or the state government takes as their priority. You take, for example, a state that have is not among those who receive the highest from federation account, like Jigawa State. It's up to date in payment. It's not owing pensions. It's not owing gratuity. And we still have some other states who we know that they receive a very big chunk from the federation account. Take, for example, a state like Bayelsa, and doesn't have too much workforce, still defaulting in payment. So it's a matter of choice. It's a matter of choice, and you see those same governments, same states that claim they don't have money. The governors have over 24 vehicles in his convoy.
So you're still calling for prudence.
Those vehicles,
Mr. Ikwe, you think prudence is the watchword for the state to be able to meet up?
That's the key word. Okay. So the governors have chosen to invest the state fund in some other things, some white elephant projects. Of course, in paying for the contractors, of course, there will be huge mismanagement. Some of the projects are paid for and never executed. So it's a choice.
Thank you so much, Mr. Uche Ikwe, for speaking with us on the News at 10. And talking about workers' welfare, there appears to be no end in sight yet to the industrial action embarked upon by members of the Joint Health Sector Union, JOHESU, as the meeting between the union and government executives has ended in a deadlock. While the Minister of Labour and Employment, Dr. Chris Ngige, expresses confidence that the striking workers will soon go back to work, the workers' unions say the government has not taken any concrete steps to address their demands.
The strike embarked upon by members of the Joint Health Workers Union, JOHESU, on Wednesday, April the 18th, is about to enter its third week, and it appears there is no end in sight. This conference, which held on Wednesday, April the 25th, is the first conciliation meeting between the federal government and the striking workers, after the secretary to the government of the federation intervened and pushed for a reconciliation. Cameras were only allowed to take pictures before the meeting commenced.
There is a government offer.
Some moments after that meeting, the Minister of Labour and Employment expresses confidence that the disagreement would soon be resolved.
We hope that in the next few hours, 48 hours, they should come back to us with their position. You expect that in industrial disputes. The only difference here is that this a dispute in an area that entails lives. patience.
But investigation has revealed that the strike may linger for a while.
Association of Radiographers of Nigeria.
At this press conference, some of the striking health workers accused the Minister of Health of treating them with contempt, an allegation the minister denied.
Rather than adopt industrial conflict resolution approach, the Federal Ministry of Health has been busy fanning the embers of animosity, acrimony, and wrangling in the health sector, bringing the heads of members of the health team against each other.
I think this is most unfortunate coming from USU. I think we are quite concerned as a responsible government to making sure that we take into consideration all concerns, and we do not want to solve a problem to create another one.
The striking health workers are insisting that the government must honor the 2017 agreement for terms of payment, and until they get evidence of payment, the strike will continue.
There was an agreement signed 30th September 2017. And we have told them that until, my members have said clearly that until we receive money in our account, until the alert makes backam, then we can suspend.
The endless strike in the health sector is taking its toll on patients, and the earlier the crisis is resolved, the better for all.
When the news at 10 returns, Nigeria to host 22nd edition of the African Securities Exchange Association Conference, and that's the second time. Our synthesis is then.